I'm very pleased with this. Just moves out the way. That's lovely. If you look inside, you can see, there it is. And I've put red felt, not because I want it to look beautiful, even though it does. I've put it so it cushions it. It'll stop it rattling, but allow it to move, and it'll stop the front of the door being scratched as well. So it's really solved the problem beautifully, and it'll stop any vibration and stuff and help to deaden noise. You can see the over-engineered just slightly 5 brass nuts and bolts. Again, brass because I haven't got any small M3 countersunk steel ones. There's the back of the switch to turn light, and there is the correct light holder. Not like those stupid ones, G4. So the lamps were the right size, because it slowly, ever so slowly dawned on me. G4 refers to the 4mm gap between the 2 pins. This is a G4 socket that fits perfectly. Those other ones, in their smart little box, ridiculous. I don't know what they are. They're certainly not 4. I think I measured it and they're 7.5mm or 8 or something. So I think I'm going to send them back, because I can't imagine I'll ever have a use for them. And now we come to the extremely enjoyable part, which is putting copper pipe on. So there's room at the side, so I think that'll look lovely. I've been fiddling around for some time trying to work out which bits of pipe go where. Now, I've drilled a hole in the top, found my 15mm drill bit, which was nice, and it didn't, I managed to grip this without it flying off being destroyed. I've glued that on, which was a spare lovely Munson ring, and a top tip. If you put Munson rings on, you don't want them to stick out too much, or by the bases, you can use an M10 bolt, and that works really well. That's what I use on the Nepnet Thrubwell, amongst other things. You can get these, but they do stand off quite a long way, and they're also incredibly expensive. I think it's £1.50 or £1.75 at least for one of these. So an M10 steel bolt is much cheaper. Now I'm going to turn into, well, I'm not going to, but this is going to turn into 8mm pipe, because I've got these lovely little 8mm fittings, and the holes that I moulded in the side of the 3D printed thing are 8mm. So let's do that. I've added some cushioning again to stop it all vibrating, so when you open and close the door it's so lovely and smooth. I cut out some discs from felt on the wonderful laser cutter. Yes, it does cut felt too beautifully, as it happens, because it slightly melts the edges, and it gives a, oh, here we are, here's one I prepared earlier. Look at that. What other machine could cut plastic, wood and felt using light? Amazing. So that'll keep it quiet and stop it rattling around. Oh, I really like that. The reason why there's the piece of metallic card on the back is that the jewels don't stick out too much. It's so easy to forget things, because obviously this has to all be flush. Oh, smooth, lovely. Right, I'm going to get some 8mm pipe. Here's my supply of 8mm pipe. It's copper pipe. Obviously it's annealed, which means it's very, very soft. I think that's the right way round. It does work harden, so you can't keep bending it and changing shape, because it'll get really, really tough. You could then reheat it, I suppose, with a blowtorch and soften it again. But anyway, that's great, and that just cuts with a normal pipe cutter, which is fun. Anyway, there's the remains of a coil. I think I was trying to develop the chronograph engine and trying this pipe, and I found that it was a little bit too tight. I'll see, I might be able to use that, incorporate it into this machine. I do love plumbing, and I like real plumbing as well. It's so enjoyable, don't know what it is. But it's a bit like a puzzle. For example, here, I need to find out how much 8mm pipe I need, so I need to line that up with that, and then I can just measure how far I need to cut here to fix that, and then how high, and it's all very enjoyable. Hours of fun. Pipe cutting is very enjoyable using one of these. You just twist it round and round, and every so often you just tighten it a bit, which brings the blade slightly closer, and there you have it. A 26mm piece of 8mm pipe. So everything's falling on the floor, so that's going to go in there. Oh, what? Ah, hold on a minute. That's not meant to happen. Get out of it. Now this is a gas fitting of some sort, which I know nothing about. Not being allowed to do gas plumbing, oops, for obvious reasons. There we are. So I'm going to glue that. Look, it's so much fun doing this sort of copper work because you don't have to solder anything. You just use the ever-present magical super glue. Usually best to poke it in the fitting first, so round the end, for example, there, and then just stick the. Well, I'll show you actually. Why not? There we are. A little ring of it round there, and then push it in. That's it. Super glue's all inside. Sticks beautifully. Now I can line that up so they're lined up and rotated vertically, and I'll get on and do that. Right, another day. And if we recap to yesterday, and me going on and like, oh yes, I love plumbing and this, that and the other, and it's great because it's what I then did was to glue this together in the wrong order, and then I couldn't actually get it together. That'll learn me. Ridiculous. I got it together in the end, but I had to disassemble everything. It's so silly. Oh yeah, I know all about this. Right, I know all about this. This is the body of a gate valve, which I sawed the top off, and I can't remember why I did it, but it's been floating around. So now what I've done is to cut out a couple of bits of acrylic on the laser to make spacers, glue them on the top, paint them brass, and then that is going to sit here. It'll just add something. Not sure what it'll add something. I've got other bits of pipe ready stuck together because that's going to go along here. Now originally on the plans I'd shown decorative gauges, these other ones that I make. This is a slightly older version because it's got engraved surround and is on a wooden plaque, but it's been sitting around, and originally I made these gauges. I made each one actually. In fact, look at this, just in the drawer. There's the model I made of it. It's got gears and things and a nice engraving. So I photographed that carefully, illuminated, and then print it out. And it means that they really do look 3D with proper shadows and everything. That's nice. Never throw anything away. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I was planning to have a gauge there, perhaps, and some 3 little gauges here. But it's too cluttered. It's just starting to look like something, a box that's got a load of stuff stuck all over, and I don't want that. So I've decided, an executive decision, to not have that, but instead to have a nice big illuminator, because Erin said that, sort of like jokingly, and I quite agree with her, she'd like to have some indicator to show when this is open, which is great. I mean, it's just, you know, everything overcomplicated. So the fact you're standing there holding this up, no, you actually need an indicator, something. So I've decided here to have a light, and she would like a green one, and there is a green LED and a lovely little lens that I haven't used for a long time. I've got loads of those. They're for LED lamps actually, funny enough. So I'm going to do that, and the lovely thing is that this is all going to link up, because I'm going to have some thin pipe here coming over to this indicator, and then that will go around and join up with another one of these pipes going to here and also to that one, so it's sort of linked. So the fact that that indicates when that's open is nice, because it ties it all a little bit together. I will now stop talking and get on with it. If anyone's interested, or for reference, if you want to make your own steampunk machines, there are 3 main types of plumbing fitting, well, metal ones anyway. There's this sort, which is called end feed, and the idea with these is, if you're going to do it properly, you clean up with wire wool the end and the inside of the pipe, you put flux on it, you push it together, heat it up with a blowtorch, and then run some solder in, your own solder, into the end, and it flows around with capillary action. That's how you get your joint. Then there is Yorkshire Fittings. These are Yorkshire Fittings, forgive me if I'm wrong, but they have a built-in ring of solder. As you can see, they always have ridges like this on the outside, because that's where the solder lives. So again, you clean them up with wire wool, put flux on it, push it in, and then theoretically you just heat it, and there's enough solder in there to then flow out and make your joint. Or in the case of steampunk machines, you use super glue, as with the end feed. or there's compression. What I'm going to use, as this is a compression fitting, rather than gluing it in, I'm going to use a compression, proper compression. What am I trying to say? I'm going to use a compression fitting, right, which comes with an olive. You either get brass or copper olive, so I'm going to use a copper one because it's softer and crushes more easily. So the idea is you put that in there, that in there, that on there, and then as you tighten that, it forces the olive into here and crushes it really firmly and tightly against the pipe, so there's no gaps at all. And you know, the nice thing about compression fittings are that then if you need to change something, you can always undo it and pull them apart again. You won't get the olive off. But anyway, like I say, because I've painted this, painted that brass, this is painted brass and the inside, so I'm not going to glue it because glue doesn't work at all well if it's sticking onto a painted surface. So I will go and tighten this up, get that fixed on. That's annoying. The screw, 50mm screw I was planning, didn't bother measuring it of course, isn't long enough to fit through. So what's to do? Now I've drilled a 4mm hole. Well, luckily I've got some 4mm stud, which is just basically just a threaded piece of metal all the way along. Can't actually focus. Anyway, it is. Take my word for it. And with the aid of another lovely M4 dome nut, I'll be able to get this achieved. So that's nice. It's a little top tip. If you do get stuck, you can get this very easily. That's better. Look at that. It looks really nice. And I haven't glued any of this together because at this time I must remember the way to do it is, get out. That's it. Right, glue it all together, then twist that round, and then it'll fit. I'll get that done. I'm really pleased with that. It looks really nice. I really didn't want to risk just sort of sticking on bits of copper and fittings and making it look like it had been stuck on, but this doesn't. It's going to look really nice, especially with the little brass bits and the fact it links things together. Very pleased with that. And then the last bit is just going to be to put a piece around the corner, and one of the little one of these pipe clips, copper pipe clips that I use for the heraldic clarion door horn to support the lovely copper colour cable. I'm going to use one of those because they're meant for 8mm pipes. I'm going to have to build some sort of standoff just to support on the corner. We'll sort that out though. This doesn't look right to me. I can obviously cut the wood down and stain it, but it still just doesn't look right. What with the Munson Ring there and there. So what I think I'm going to do, which I like doing most of all, is to overcomplicate it. I think I'm going to use another Munson Ring because that looked lovely having another one here. What I'm going to do, I've got some brass that's 18mm diameter, so I'm going to turn that down to 15, sort of fit in the Munson Ring, and then drill out the centre to 8 so that the pipe will fit through it. Add to my to-do list, tidy the lathe and clean it, and get some new or better lathe tools. Right. Ooh. So that tightens in there. Looks nice. Get it set up properly, and then let's see if that. Ooh, look. I'm so happy with it. It looks lovely. I've also worked out this bit, which is going to have this bit, which is going to take the pipe to this bit, and this is the indicator, the illuminated indicator. So I've drilled out rather badly a hole, 8mm hole in the base for the pipe, and the other ones for wires and screws. There's the front bit, which I cleaned up. It did have made in England BS something or other, British standards I hasten to add. So I've turned that down on the lathe just to get a nice shiny finish and take the sharp edges off. Lens and LEDs. I've got two different sorts. I mean, why, as always, why use one LED when you can take two into the shower, or indicator as it happens. I've got plain ones that stay on all the time, and I've got flashing ones that've got a very, very small chip. Amazing things. Been around for years, still amazing. Little black dot there is a chip that flashes the LED on and off. So I was thinking it might be quite interesting to have two. So there's one steady sort of green background, but then there's some sort of pulsing, as though it was a flicker candle something or other. Now, annoyingly, my only breadboard is buried. Awaiting the great day of resurrection with Victoria, the automaton. That's got all the bits and pieces on it. Trying to keep the dust off. And it's the only breadboard I've. It's absolutely ridiculous. I haven't even got any of the ones for the Nemnet Throbble spare because they've all been put into kits. How ridiculous. Notes to self, order another breadboard. It's crazy. So I'm going to have to use crocodile clips. It's annoying, isn't it? Because I really want to set up these and test them in front of a lens. I think a mixture of blue tack and crocodile clips. So let's try that. I've also worked out the voltages and currents. Ohm's law is so brilliant. That's pretty obvious, but you know, I'm going to run these off 12 volts from the truck, and I've looked it up and found that the full voltage for a plain green LED is about 2 volts at 20 milliamps. So that's voltage and current. Then to find out the resistor you need to limit the current, just take 12, or 2 away from 12, so that's 10. 10 divided by 0.0, I've lowered it a bit, 1.5, and that gives you, ooh, unlucky for some, 666 ohms. Now, because they don't make 666 ohms, I'm just going to pick the nearest one. So, 56 or 68. Oh, just to make it last longer. There we are, 680 ohm. Blue 6, grey 8, brown 10, 680. And gold just means that it's plus 2 or minus 2% tolerance. You never get any other colours, but when I started doing electronics, you could get right down to salmon. I think it was gold, silver, bronze or salmon. Salmon was about plus or minus 25%, but obviously things have got a lot more accurate since then. You know, with an excess of crocodile leads and stuff. Right, lens, piece of whatever translucent plastic. Right, plan Z. What I've done is I've sanded the front of the LED off flat so it hasn't got a lens. In the end, I used some wet and dry to rough up the back of the lens to create an opaque surface, and that's really nice. I'm very happy with that. It looks great. Look at that. That's what I've been talking about. I've got this fixed into place. It looks so nice. And you can see there's the LED poking through. This all screwed tightly together, overdone. Nice little, that one of those copper pipe clips. Any excuse to use some more dome nuts. Then on the inside you'll see here, all you see are it's the back of the LED coming out. What I think I'm going to do is to use some of this Vera board, 2 little strips of it, so I can take the electromachinery from, might cut a little hole, little slot here, and then that can run down there, take it to there, trim off the wires, cover it with epoxy so it's all insulated and everything, and then all my electricaries are going to end up in this bit, which is great. And there you have it. So the front's screwed on, holding the lens in place, which looks lovely. A lovely green glow, look at that. Right, I've learnt through many experiments, best way to do labels, because they're really quite tricky to do, is to print them out, design them, print them out on paper, line them up, and I've had several different versions of these on different sides and all sorts of stuff, but I'm finally happy with how they will look. So yes, look at that. Very pleased with that. Obviously I have to clean the soot off first. But there's the open portal indicator, and there's the Malarkey quote. Excellent. Right, I must stop must stop making this video. I will get these cleaned up and hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you found this useful, interesting and informative. Thank you.